Om Neelambujashyamalkomalangam Sita Samaropita Vamabhagam Panau Mahasayakacharu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Adorations to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus, who is very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side, and he is carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. It is a mystical description of the Supreme Self. And we continue with Balakanda between Dohas 30 and 31. Tulsidasji continues with the prologue to the great work he is going to compose, and he has already started composing. And what I'm calling prologue is actually the very foundation. Foundation is the prologue of your building. And it is most important. Every brick of that is important. At this foundation level, Tulsidasji brought out the idea that the Ramayana was first told by Shiva to Parvati at the very divine level. Then same Shiva told the Ramayana to Kakabhushundi, a crow sage. I have given you some ideas about them. And then from Kakabhushundi, Yajnavalkya sage received the Ramayana. And Yajnavalkya related this to Bharadwaja. And from Bharadwaja, a succession of teachers and they taught. And that succession went on until Tulsidasji himself received the Ramayana from his own Guru. And at this stage, we continue in the Ramayana. Tadapi kahi guru barahi bara, samuji pari kachu mati anusara. Tulsidasji says that Guru told him the Ramayana again and again, and according to my mati, according to my intellect or understanding, somewhat I have grasped. And that's the somewhat that I'm going to present in the Ramayana. The idea I always understand, spiritual knowledge is not a mathematical, quantitative knowledge that you can gain the whole thing, cent%. Spiritual knowledge is not nothing to be gained. It's a revelation. Think of a reflected sun having the project of gaining spiritual knowledge. Who am I? The reflected sun is not going to find the sun and shake hands, and that I have found him. The reflected sun will be transcended in the movement. There is no reflection, there is no water, and there is no jar. The sun alone shines. So attaining knowledge is experiencing the revelation of yourself without the interaction of mind and senses. So it is not finding anything. It is being, not becoming. Everything in this world that you go after makes you become. You are poor, you become rich. You didn't have clothes, now you have better clothes, and so forth. But liberation is tearing up veils of illusion. When you wake up from your dream, you don't become something different. Dream didn't exist. So no matter how many things you attained in your dream, all that didn't alter you. You woke up and you are not at a loss. Bhasha baddha karabi mai soyi. It is that teaching that I am going to bring it in literature, in poetic verses. And that I am going to do for satisfaction of my own mind and sharing with everybody. Jas kachu buddhi viveka bala mor mere, tas kahi hum khiya hari ke prere, nij sandeha moha brahmaharani, karau katha bhava sarita tarani. As much do I possess purity of intellect and power of discriminative vision, vivek, according to my buddhi and vivek, inspired by Lord Hari, I will relate this story for the world. This story of Rama is the remover of Sandeh. Sandeh is called doubt. Another Sanskrit word is Shanka. Another word is Sanshaya. Three bhavanas, three types of feeling obstruct the revelation of the self. Sanshaya bhavana, doubting state of mind. Asambhavana, the sense of impossibility. Viparita bhavana, perverted vision. Sanshaya bhavana is removed by shravana, listening. So the mind develops certain clarity so that it doesn't doubt. In Sanskrit called dvividha. Two perspectives have presented before you. Like you are crossing a river and two boats have presented themselves before you. And now you can't make up your mind. One boat has a monkey, another boat has a rabbit. I'm joking. Which one will be better, the rabbit or the monkey? But when you listen profoundly through satsanga, involved in integral yoga, then listening brings about clarity of understanding. So sanshaya moves away, the doubt that I am the soul, eternal, immortal, that doubt moves away. But then, next obstacle comes, is called asambhavana. The idea enters the mind of an aspirant that all that the scriptures say about the soul is correct. But since I have done lots of negative karmas, it is not possible for me to attain enlightenment. And you use your intellect to calculate your karmas and put one set of karmas on the one side of the weighing scale and one set of karmas on the other, and come to the conclusion that yes, I will attain liberation, but in 2 or 3 more births. Not in this birth. And you never make error in your mathematics. It's called asambhavana. You've created a sense that it is impossible for me to attain liberation. And the third one is called viparita bhavana. This constant illusion of viewing the self as inside the body. Whenever we say, where is the Atma, we point out the self. But this is perverted thinking. Why? The greater reality is that you are inside the Atma, not Atma inside you. Atma is the reality, transcending all, The entire universe is inside the Atma. And yet the constant idea that somehow you are body-mind complex, and you have to pass through these layers of illusion in order to reach the self that is completely within the within. But in reality, go one step further. The self is neither within nor without. In and out are concepts generated by the mind. When you dream, there is a concept that certain things are in my house, and there are many other things beyond the house. I can see them by opening the window. So while you are dreaming, you have the concept of within and without. When you wake up, what happens to within and without of the dream? Both are transcended. So, as long as the mind uses the term, I have to find the Atma within, the Atma is containing the whole world, those concepts are viparita bhavana, perverted understanding. And that perverted understanding is removed by constant meditation. Meditation of the nature of reflection called vichar. Devotion, bhakti and vichar. Bhakti and jnana, that's the mystical terms. By devotion and by constant inquiry into who am I, you come to realize that God alone is. The mind, brain and nervous system, they should not interpret the reality. Reality doesn't need interpretation. Reality is always, ever the same. Minds and nervous systems will continue to interpret the reality in countless ways, but the reality remains untouched. So that type of revelation dawns in your mind. So the study of scripture, such as the Ramayana, again Tulsidasji is pointing to the Ramayana he is composing, but also he is suggesting that all scriptures are Ramayana. All scriptures of all religions are the Ramayana. Ramayana satkoti prakara. Ramayana is of 1,000 million types. And we are going to hear only one type of Ramayana. Under the title Ramayana, all scriptures are included. Though a specialized title Ramayana that relates to Tulsidas's work known as Ramcharitmanas. Now this Ramayana removes Sandeh, the doubting state of mind, and already I have explained that, and removes Agyan, ignorance, and Brahm, delusion. Brahm, delusion is of three types. Satyatva Bhranti. Things are viewed as real simply because you touch them, you taste them. But that's not the characteristic of reality. Ishtatva Bhranti, and the illusion that objects will give you happiness. If you were to possess them, you will be happy. They are desirable. They are your ishta, ishtatva bhranti. And samichinatva bhranti. You worked hard and you found the object. Object relates to physical objects as well as all relationships. You found the object, you found the relationship, and you developed the idea, now this person was so far away, I have found this person. But again, the point is, this is an illusion. People live together with such close conjunction, but each soul is led by its own karma. Sometimes people come together and sleep in a hall. They are close together. But in dream they go far out. No two persons are close together. You hold an object in your hand and say, oh, this object, I have found it. It's close to me. From profound point of view, even your hand is not close to you. Through many lives, you have handled many hands. You will be surprised how they look like. So that's all called Brahm, Bhranti, delusion. And your profound purpose of life is to remove the delusion, attain enlightenment. And Tulsidasji says this Ramayana contains all the ingredients that will lead you to enlightenment. Buddha Vishrama Sakala Jana Ranjani Rama Katha Kali Kalusha Vibhanjani Rama Katha Kali Panna Gabharani Puni Viveka Pavaka Kahu Arani. Ram Katha is the giver of rest to those who are pandits, those who are wise. The term pandit has become very popular all over the world, but the full implication is not known. Panda term relates to Vivek Buddhi, discriminative knowledge. Whoever possesses that discriminative knowledge is called Pandit. Another Sanskrit word for Pandit is Buddha. Buddha Vishram Sakala Jana Ranjani. Ram Katha is the giver of supreme peace to those who are Pandits. Because Pandits don't want transient type of resting places. All objects, all situations in the world are transient. You remember the statement of the Bible. Foxes have holes and birds have nests. But referring to himself, Jesus says, I do not have any place to lay my head upon. The entire world is there, but there is no place where you can make your real home and stay there for eternity. Everything, this, even from very physical point of view, the entire Earth planet is transient. Who tells you? Twinkle, twinkle, little stars. Look at them, they are telling you how the stars fall. But Ram Katha, listening to the story of Rama, again Tulsidasji is well convinced that subtle medicine he is going to put into this story. It's just like doctors create drugs so sugar-coated that you never know. The sugar coating is so tasty and you get benefited by it. So the wisdom is being so sugar-coated that just by listening to it, just by enjoying the Ramayana, you are led to bhakti and mukti. Rama Katha is the giver of joy to all human beings, because ultimately it is human beings who have to listen to this Ram Katha. Animals and birds cannot perform self-effort. Human beings are the ones who are able to do so. Why partiality? The fact is, they are all souls, and souls move up and down, led by karmas. So those whom you find animals today, they have been souls According to their karmas, they are in animal embodiments. And likewise, you are a human being. According to your karma, you can attain enlightenment. You can stay and be human being in your next birth, or be any animal, cat, dog, a deer. So what I'm leading you to understand that as a human being, Rama Katha can be enjoyed, and it is the greatest blessing for humanity to have scripture such as Ramayana. It is the destroyer of the sins of Kali Yuga. Sins of Kali Yuga relate to malas, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, perverted desires, anger, greed, delusion, jealousy, conceit. These are highlights of impurities. Those impurities move away if your heart were to enjoy divine love. Just like light comes in and your darkness in your room moves away. Love of God is kind of a light. And Rama Katha constantly allows the window in your heart to open. The light of God come into your heart. And your mind will not enjoy anger, hate, greed. Rather, your mind will be drawn to serenity, peace, and to all the divine virtues known as Davi Sampat, non-violence, truthfulness, purity. Rama Katha is like a peacock for eating up the snake of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, which I described in the form of these malas, gross impurities. The gross impurities crawl, or rather glide, like snakes. But Rama Katha is like that peacock that goes on picking up wherever the snake is and chewing them up. Rama Katha is that sacred fuel out of which there arises the fire of viveka, discriminative knowledge. As you listen to it, as you reflect upon it, the fuel is, potential fire is awakened. And that fire is viveka buddhi, that subtle discriminative understanding that makes it clear for you that your soul is eternal, absolute, and you are completely separate from the world of matter. Matter is illusory, like darkness. The soul is like light. So there is a difference between darkness and light. And Rama Katha allows you to move away from darkness, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, from darkness to light. Rama Katha kalikama dagayi, sujan sajivani muri suhai, soiva sudha tal sudha tarangini, bhaya bhanjini brahma bheka bhuvangini. Rama Katha is like Kamadhenu cow, the wish-yielding cow. In Hindu scriptures, there are lots of mystic stories with Kamadhenu. This mystic cow, if you possess, then whatsoever you wish, the Kamadhenu will present to you. You don't even have to milk the cow. In the same way, Ramayana study fills your family with devotion. Ramayana study is kind of for whole family. Even children begin to enjoy the stories. How did Hanuman jump up into the sky and caught hold of the sun and swallowed it? And there are various prayers that are easy even for children. And in India, grown-ups encourage the children to learn some of these prayers, like Hanuman Chalisa, recite them every day. And that's a subtle secret of profound culture that India has promoted. For good people, for sajjans, Ram Katha is Sanjeevani Bhuti. In simple words, it's a kind of a mystic herb that will give you immortality. Each point is elaborated in the Ramayana. When Lakshmana became unconscious, Hanuman had to go to Himalayas to find Sanjeevani Bhuti. And behind all those stories, there are subtle mystical implications. Ram Katha is like the river of nectar. Nectar, again you have to understand how much of the nectar can make you immortal. Mathematical question. If it is nectar, one drop will make you immortal. Millionth of a drop will make you immortal. As well as 1,000 tons of nectar will make you immortal. So Ram Katha is like the river of nectar. But how is it all people don't become immortal? Because people are in different levels of evolution. Ram Katha has not entered their heart. If one were to find delight in satsanga, delight in listening to the spiritual potentiality of the soul and the purpose of human existence, if one were to listen to these, and when all this is presented in a story way, like in the Ramayana, mind becomes fascinated by those stories. You cannot forget them. And the stories wait for you to give their subtle meaning. They have tremendous patience. But they do give you the subtle meaning. Rama Katha is the destroyer of fear of birth and death, bhava-vyadhi, being subjected to repeated cycle of birth and death. Nothing is more frightening than that predicament. Mind must well understand in a very healthy way that even one lifetime, try to figure out all the pain that you experienced as a baby and all the pain that you inflicted on your parents. And likewise, exiting the body is also not easy. And think of that type of experience coming to you life after life. So all that fear, so person who has developed spiritual sensitivity, the mind develops that strange fear of coming back, being trapped by a cycle of birth and death. That fear is destroyed by Rama Katha. The moment you begin to turn to God and realize that once you have surrendered to God, even God has no strength to throw you out. You remember this story told, that is God omniscient? And the answer was that not in regard to one area. That story has come in Birbal and Akbar stories. Birbal Akbar, who always wanted to be recognized as a very charitable and glorious king, someone advised Birbal, rather Akbar, that you should introduce yourself as a deity in Hindu temples, because there are many deities and your own face goes into it. The Hindus won't mind. And if they mind, threaten them. Akbar said, why didn't I think of this before? And while he was enjoying that, Birbal walked in. And Akbar said to Birbal, all these great people have advised me that I should be adored by Hindus as a deity. If not the central deity, I can be one of the deities. But why not the central deity? Birbal said that whatever they have advised you is very little. You are much greater than God. By becoming a Hindu god, you are not going to become great. He said, what do you mean by that? He said, the Hindu god is not all powerful, like you. If somebody commits a big crime, you can drive the person out of your kingdom. But poor God, no matter whatever crime one may commit, there is no place to drive any soul out. Try to understand the inability of God to drive your soul out. And for destroying delusions, delusions are like frogs. Rama Katha is snake. Snakes like to chew up frogs. Asura sena samanarakane kandini. Sadhu vibudha kula hita giri nandini. Santa samaja payodhi ramasi. Vishwabhara bhar achala chamasi. Ram Katha is the destroyer of asuras, demons. Demons are dark forces. And dark forces relate to hell, hellish experiences. Ram Katha is like rays of light that drive away forces of darkness. And as a force of doing good to all people, people who are following the path of virtue, Ram Katha is Durga Devi with immense power riding on the lion. And Ram Katha, for the association of aspirants, for Sant Samaj, for people who have come into Satsanga, Ram Katha is like Lakshmi Devi who emerged out of Milky Ocean. And for lifting up all your burden, Ram Katha is like the earth itself. Not the movable earth, but immovable basis. Jamagana muha masi jaga jamunasi, jivan mukti hetu janukasi, Rama hi priya pavani tulasi si, Tulsidasji hitahiye hulasi si. Ram Katha is like the sacred Yamuna river, the river that blackens the face of Yamadutas, messengers of death. These relate to many village stories, how certain devotee enjoying bath in Yamuna river and the Yama, and his time of death has come. Yama sends Dutas to carry his soul out of his body. But the Dutas, they get black faces. The spray of Yamuna river blackened the face. They had to run away. I made up this story. Similar stories are there. Rama hi priya pavani tulasi si. And for Rama, it is as dear to him as Tulsi plant. Tulsi plant also holds a whole story that we will tell you later. Tulsidasji hitahiya hulasi si. And for Tulsidas, for himself, the Katha, Rama Katha is like his very mother. The name of Tulsidas's mother is Hulasi. Hulasi comes from the Sanskrit word ullas. Lot of joy comes. The folk language, Hulasi. Someone is full of bubbling joy. So it was Tulsi Devi who gave birth to Tulsi Das. Rama Katha is like his very mother in brief. Shiva Priya me kal sail sutasi, sakala siddhi sukha sampati rasi, sadguna surgana amba aditi si, raghuvara bhagati prema parimati si. Rama Katha is dear to Shiva, as dear as Narmada river, an aspect of the Devi. Is the giver of all types of riddhis and siddhis, minor powers, major powers, prosperity, and ultimate joy. Ram Katha is like Aditi Devi, the mother of gods. And that relates to Puranic stories. Aditi. Diti refers to Dvaita, duality. Aditi, non-duality. All divine qualities have their source in non-duality. Great sage Satashyapa had two wives, Aditi and Diti. Aditi became the source of gods. This godly movement leads to Advaita. And Diti gave rise to demons. The demoniac movement keeps you in Dvaita, duality. Mind that continues to view the world in the terms of duality, in the terms of multiplicity. That mind becomes the source of demoniac qualities called Asuri Sampat. Anger, hate, greed, pride, jealousy, and all that, called Asuri Sampat. And Asuri Sampat implies that you are believing in the world of multiplicity, world of duality. But when subtle understanding is awakened within you that the world is not split up into many things, but the world is one God manifesting as many through Maya. And that Godward movement generates divine qualities. In other words, study of Ramayana and devotion to Ramayana will give rise to divine qualities. Your personality will be decked with Devi Sampat. Rama Katha Mandakini Chitrakuta Chirachita Charu Tulsi Subhag Sanehaban Siya Raghubir Biharu. Ram Katha is Mandakini river. By that river there is the great pilgrimage center, Chitrakoot. Pure mind is like Chitrakoot Tirtha, Chitrakoot pilgrimage center. Divine love is like the mystic garden. In that mystic atmosphere, Rama and Sita are always sporting. So if you want to join with the sport of Rama and Sita, get into Tulsi Ramayana. It will put you by the river. The bhavana, the feeling that flows within your heart, becomes the Mandakini river. The very mind of yours becomes Chitrakoot. And your feelings of divine love, they become beautiful forest. And Sita Ram is sporting in that atmosphere. Man changa to katwat me Ganga. Simple statement for the villagers. If mind is well set with the japa, with Ishvara Smaran, thinking of God, your mind is well set, then even in your bathtub you will enjoy as if you have entered the Ganges river. Without exaggeration. And here it is the same statement, more elaborated. That as if you are in a Chitrakoot pilgrimage center and there is a beautiful flowery forest, and in that forest and a magic river, a divine river Mandakini flows, and Sita and Ram, they are constantly enjoying that place, and you sneak into it. रामचरित चिंतामणि चारु संत सुमति तिय सुभग सिंगारु जगमंगल गुण था ग्राम धाराम के दानी मुकुति धन धर्म धाम के. Ramcharitra, the story of Rama, implying what Rama did and all the great qualities that he exuded out of his personality. That Ramcharitra is like wish-yielding jewel. The buddhi of saintly people consider the buddhi like a divine goddess. That goddess uses all the jewels, all the pearls from the Ramakatha as her ornaments. You have to figure that out. Implying that the saintly intellect becomes well decked with divine potentiality. The divine virtues are doer of good for the entire world and giver of wealth. In other words, giver of four purposes of life: ethical value, material value, social value, and moksha, which is the infinite spiritual value of life. The giver of supreme abode. Sadguru Jnana Virag Yoga ke Vibhuddha Vaida Bhava Bhima Roga ge Janani Janaka Siya Rama Prem ke Bij Sakala Brat Dharma Name ke. For gaining insight into jnana, knowledge, vairagya, dispassion, yoga, practical disciplines in daily life. Ramayana is like Sadguru. Ramayana holds the guiding light for destroying the terrible disease of the world process. Ramayana is the divine physician, Ashwini Kumar, for arousing love for Sita and Ram. Ram Katha is like spiritual parents. For gaining insight into all vratas. Vratas are various vows that you practice for gaining purity of heart, dharma, righteous deeds, and niyamas. In other words, in Raj Yoga terminology, for being adept in the practice of yamas and niyamas, ahimsa, satyam, brahmacharya, etc., shauch, santosh, satsang, the niyamas, for gaining skill and insight into the practice of these, Ramayana is the best. Ramayana is the seed, as it were, for allowing you to develop a spiritual personality. Samana papa santap sok ke, priya palak paralok lok ke, sachiv subhat bhupati vichar ke, kumbhaj lobha udadhi apar ke. Sinful karmas, pap, the worries and anxieties that vex your mind and heart, santap, and frost and hail, that type of grief that befalls on your mind. For destroying these, pap, santap and shok, sinful karmas, intense agitation like hot, and grief, that's like a shower of hail, not hell. For destroying pap, santap and shok, that's the description of common mind of the masses. And that's not an easy thing to get rid of. But it is for the purpose of getting rid of that you go through satsanga, practice of integral yoga, and take up the path of spirituality. And Rama Katha paves the way to paralok, the higher worlds. Rama Katha is like a minister for the king who is vichar. In other words, Rama Katha enables you to practice vichar that leads to enlightenment. Vichar means inquiry, who am I? A reflective movement. And for soaking up the ocean of greed. You must realize this whole world is presented to the soul as ocean of greed. Because nothing is yours, and yet you go on grabbing things. That's called ocean of greed. Tena tyaktena bhunjita. That's what Ishavasya Upanishad says. Renounce all these and then enjoy. Don't go after things, grabbing them. This is mine, this is me. This ocean, again this storyline, Agastya, sage, drank up the entire ocean in 3 sips. Rama Katha will enable you to drink up this ocean of greed. And I will hold off at this stage. Om Shri Ramaya Namah, Om Shri Ramaya Namah, Om Namah Shivaya.